Welcome to another episode of In Between Homes. Today I'm hosting Ghislain from Australia, here living in Bali. How are you?
Hi, Lucy. It's so wonderful to be here. And I'm really excited to share my path from corporate world to starting my own business to evolving that to now be something that allows me to not be restricted by location. So I'm super excited for our chat today.
Thank you. Let me ask you first, where is home for you?
I love that question. And particularly because I was someone that never really felt home anywhere. I moved around a lot as a child. Like I've only ever lived somewhere for 9 years is the longest, and that was in Melbourne. Now, 2 years of that was in lockdown. So would I have stayed for that long had I been in lockdown? I don't know. But I never had this feeling of home anywhere. And it wasn't until I really created that home within myself
Mm.
and knew that I could really be at home in multiple different locations. And it was really interesting, even though I was raised in Australia, born in Australia, it never felt like home. And I would quite often be in other locations and still have that same sense of belonging as a tourist that I would have in my own, like technically home country. So I think if some people have never really felt like they belong anywhere, home for me is really myself and being grounded to myself and what I'm doing. And so therefore, location isn't something that I restrict my life by because I think that we are always evolving as humans. So where we live has the ability to evolve with us.
I love that. I love that. It's not the location is within yourself when you're starting to feeling home wherever you would be
Yeah.
living. And
Yeah.
if we look at you 10 years ago, how was your life? Can you tell us a little bit more?
I I am completely unrecognizable from the me 10 years ago. I mean, if you were to look at my life 10 years ago, I would have been in like kind of the early stages of a corporate career as an interior architect. So I was like, I don't know if you know any architects, but we really give our all to the craft. And I was working around the clock, really trying to establish myself as someone who was going to be successful in that field of work. And at that time, if you had have told me that I would be doing what I'm doing now, my mind could have never conceived it.
So tell us, what are you doing now?
Yes. So now I think I have one of the most amazing jobs. I get to create these really transformative experiences to help women step into the power of who they are. So I work on programs, retreats, coaching containers that really help women get clear about who they are right now. And is that way of being serving them? And then helping them release limitations and ways of being that actually aren't in service of their boldest expression. And so working with like the conscious mind, the subconscious, the body to release trauma. I work a lot with energy and then re-empowering them back with their soul's mission and then helping them create businesses that are in alignment with their lifestyle.
Mm.
I think this like corporate way of working that we are conditioned to just doesn't align with females and with the more modern global style of working. So I really re-empower women to like develop a spiritual practice as part of their business and then how the two become your service to humanity.
Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how did you transition from being a architect in corporation to this today?
I have a big history. So I had a driver of domestic violence. And so I always knew that what happened to me happened for a reason. I just didn't know what that reason was, but I always knew that I would use what I went through to help other people. And then, like halfway through my interior design career, I actually got hit by a car. And now that moment stopped me in my tracks because I was living that corporate life where I was like, had this really successful global career. I was traveling all around the world. Like, if you were to look at me on a bit of paper, you would say that person is successful. But like me as a human was like fucking dying, right? Like, I was burnt out. I wasn't like sleeping properly. There was no boundaries around my time and work time because the like reality of when you're working global and you haven't established strong boundaries is you're on all the time, you
Mm.
know? And so that moment really stopped me in my tracks and forced me to take a step back and go, actually, what do I want to do with my life? And so that's when I started getting really curious about like, what is my why? What are my values? And like, how do I actually want to serve humanity? And I think when you get to a certain point in your career, you kind of look around at the people ahead of you and you go, is that how I want my life to be? I don't know if you had that moment as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I was middle of burnout as well, and I was like, why I am giving my health for a job, It's like how I can arrive at this point. My brain just froze at the time, and I was like seeing a blank page. It's like, why I am doing that? What's the purpose for that? So it was for me as well a big moment where the body is telling you to change something and make a 360.
Yeah, exactly right. And I was just living in and working in such a place of disalignment that wasn't serving me. I was so sick. And so then I started like developing and working with someone to work out how I wanted to serve humanity, essentially, right? And I think it's exciting that we get to have this moment to step back and be like, what do I actually want my career to be? Because part of the privilege of people that live the way we do is we get to choose that, there are other people that don't have that choice. And so then I really got clear about what I wanted to do at that time, how I wanted to serve. And then I developed a strategy that would enable me to exit out of my corporate role and begin Maiden, which is the company that I founded. And part of that was I actually started working in it in my last year of working in corporate. So I actually started running workshops at the company I was working for to help their employees manage stress. Right? Because I
Wow.
was like looking around at all these stressed out employees and I'm like, I can totally help you. And, COVID had just hit. So mental health and well-being in the workplace was a big focus. And I was like, oh, hello, I can help with this. And
Mm.
so originally Maiden started out very different. I was running corporate experiences, right? And then what I will suggest to anyone who is making that shift is like have a strategy for how you're going to do it. Have a clear understanding of why you're doing what you're doing and how you're doing it, because it's really like entrepreneurship is like riding waves, and sometimes you're up and it is like fucking amazing, right? And you're like, yes, this is amazing, and then before you know it, you're like bang and you've eaten dust or eaten sand. you know
And now you're surfing real waves in Bali, right? So
Exactly. And then, I was like, and then I evolved what I was doing into more of the healing space and started learning more about that as I started healing my own body. And I was like, oh wow, the like body has such a profound ability to heal. And so I was supporting women in that way and creating tailored healing experiences to help women step into their power and release their trauma. And then I came to Uluwatu in April 2023. And my heart and my spirit just exploded, right? And I knew this is where I wanted to be. And so my business at that time wasn't set up to be online,
okay.
right? But this is the most amazing thing about when you have your own business is you get to evolve it to be a vehicle for the impact you want to create and the life you want to live. So I went back to Melbourne and I was like, I can't be here anymore. It doesn't feel like the place was no longer in resonance, right? Like I was literally like doing all the things that used to bring me joy. And I was like, oh, it's just not cutting it. So it really became undeniable that I had to leave, that it was time to go. And so I literally evolved my business to be online and to do more coaching work and really formalize what I was already doing in my other programs so that I did have that freedom to live where I felt most drawn to.
Mm. Yeah, so you adjusted your business to serve you to be you know, and to be for you living the life that you want in the place that you wanted. And
Yeah.
what has been the most challenging part for you in this whole development of maybe your business and then the transition online?
That's a really good question. I think sometimes I like get in my own way. Do you know what I mean by that? Like sometimes I will think that things need to be harder than they do, or that things aren't possible. And I've got to catch myself when I'm allowing fear to hold me back. Like there was a lot of fear when I put my business online of like, well, how is this going to work? You know? But as business owners and as CEOs, we get to go, actually, it's our responsibility to figure this out. How is it going to work? And I get really excited about that now. Every time my business evolves or something changes, it's a real mindset shift from being like, oh, fuck, how am I going to do this? It's not going to work, to actually, how can I make this work?
Yes, yes. The mindset is everything. It's like, okay, something is changing. It's gonna happen all the time. Like we are evolving all the time. Our needs change, and if you think your business is set forever, it's a mistake because then now you are living here. Maybe in a year you want something else, and you will do it in a different way. So we are opening to a, okay, I need to shift a little bit the business and find the right being the right mindset to make it happen. And it's this is how do I make it happen? It's not like, oh, I'm stuck in a situation. And when we are able to make this mindset shift, I think it's where a lot of abundance is coming, a lot of ease is coming next.
Yeah, I think it takes you really from a place of like contraction and restriction to possibility.
Mm.
Right? And like one of my values is curiosity. So I'm like, okay, like how can I make this work? What is the strategy then I get to put in place to facilitate this? And I love what you said because our business is really an ever evolving entity, right? I don't know any business that actually doesn't evolve.
Yeah, you must evolve. Like for me, it's what I learned the hard way during COVID is nothing is permanent. I
Mm-mm.
was having a perfect kind of life in Bali before coming, and then in kind of 24 hours, everything changed and the business changed and all of that. But then you realize that more you embrace the uncertainty of life, more it's gonna, you know, life's gonna be easier for you because you don't stay attached too strongly to something you had, and you're like, okay, I had this, I was grateful for that, but then now I need to find a new way and a new thing that's gonna work for me at the time. And you mentioned a lot about your value. Has been an easy journey for you to define what is important for you, your own value and your business value.
I think it's something I work with my female entrepreneurs. It's one of the first things that we do because your values are really your anchor for your life and for your business. And don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. So 100%, yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many decisions you have to make, but when you make them from a place of values, you know that they're in alignment with what is important to you. So I
Mhm.
spent a lot of time personally working out what my values are, what they meant for me when I'm in alignment with my values and when I'm out of alignment, because it's just as important to know, am I out of alignment with my values right now? Right? And when you design a business that way, it's a really good way to like audit and make sure that your business and your lifestyle, because I believe if you're someone who's purpose or mission driven, it's more of a lifestyle than like a business. Do you know what I mean?
I 100% agree with you. It's a way of living. It's for me. I always say that I'm not doing business for the business. I'm doing the business because it's serving the lifestyle that I want, you know. And of course, I want to serve. I want, but it's more like it's just my essence is having a business, because I'm one of my values so strong is a freedom. So it's I need to be feeling
Mhm.
free and the way that I'm working. So by knowing that is business is serving my life, and it's changed as well. I'm not a prisoner of my business. I'm like I'm making the business work for me in the way that I want. It's serving my life as well.
And I think that's such an important distinction is like for people making those transitions is to not transition into the same way of working that you were in like more of a corporate or structured environment. And I see a lot of people do that. And it's like, well, you actually haven't created freedom.
No.
You've just replicated the same thing that you tried to escape from.
With more stress and no paycheck.
Exactly.
Better to stay in corporation.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, let's talk about this. You know, but I think when like people have that, like, I really think if you're starting out in business, the most important things is like know your why and your mission and your
Mm,
values
yes.
because they help you ride the tough waves of entrepreneurship and life, you
I,
know,
yeah.
because
Eh,
when you move, like I moved to Bali knowing this is what I wanted, it doesn't mean that it's been easy, you
So
know?
tell us a little bit about the changing country. It was the first time for you living abroad?
Yes, it is the first time for me living abroad. I think because I've traveled a lot and I worked internationally, I was kind of, I guess it prepared me for it, but definitely the first time living. And I think like the hardest things would be, particularly in Bali, is like that sense of community.
Mm,
Yeah. And like convenience. So you're now living in a country that's not it's developing. So there's things that you're used to having access to, and particularly as a business owner, that you just can't get. And so you have to really adjust your lifestyle and your business once again to know that,
mm.
you know?
Yeah, adjustment, adaptability, and opening up to a new way of doing things. I guess I found Bali has some easiness sometime, and because we can deal everything through WhatsApp.
Yeah, 100%. And Gojek is a lifesaver, let's be honest.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are other things that especially Australia, because I also opened my business in Australia. So I know how easy it can be there. It's not the same in countries like Indonesia. But
No.
this is like just adaptability and taking the good part for what is good, in each country. So.
Yeah. And like I always think that there is like the right kind of hard, you know? And like for me, moving has been challenging at moments, but it's the right type of hard and it's in alignment with who I want to be and how I want to serve. So there is no other choice.
Yes, at least it's the choice you made, and
Yeah.
okay. And so you have been having this moment where life told you like, okay, you need to change your accident, and then you transition out, you build up your own business, you got very clear on what is alignment for you, your value, your why, and now you are living your dream life, I would say. Surfing
Definitely.
every day almost, and all of that. What has been for you this courage you had to do those things? Is it because of the accident, or did you
I think that's such a great question. I would say that it is layered in what gives me the courage to do it is that I know within my soul that it is my purpose.
Mm,
And I know that my soul came here to do this work. And because one of my main values is actually courage as well, if I don't choose to be courageous in the service of my mission, then I'm not in alignment with my values and then I'm betraying myself. And that cost is really high.
mm,
You know, I also went into what would it be like if I didn't do this? and felt that in my body, and it felt gross and heartbreaking,
Mm.
more so than any of the challenges that I face doing it.
Yeah, so it was actually easier to be courageous
Yeah.
than the cost of not doing it. And you say, you explain a bit, you took time to find your mission. Do you
Mhm.
have any advice for those who are like, yeah, everyone is talking about mission or purpose, but I'm not sure I have something to offer to the world. What would you say to
Yeah.
them?
Everybody came here for a purpose. And there is the full spectrum of what soul's purposes are, and each and every purpose is as important as the other, right? Like some people like me will have these big events that happen that will like be the reason that they have this drive to change humanity. Other people will have this beautiful purpose of raising children, of really empowering the next generation of children to become leaders. And both are just as important. And so, quite often, I will hear people say, oh, but I don't feel like I have this really big purpose, and minimize what they actually came here for. But it's both are so valuable and so needed in the world. And so, what I would always say to people is like, find someone that inspires you, that can help you get clarity, that can help you release a lot of what's actually holding you back from identifying what your purpose is and then being in expression from that. Because I fundamentally believe it's not outside of us.
Mm.
Like your purpose isn't something that you're going to go down to like, a shop and be like, oh, can I please like an aisle 7 order like my purpose from the top shelf? Thanks. Right. You can't just like order it online on Amazon. And like I'm a coach, but I'm not going to give my clients their purpose.
No, you are facilitating them the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The transformation, right? And so I would say to people like, find someone you can work with, open your heart and your spirit to like what lights your soul on fire.
Yes.
And sometimes what makes you fucking angry. Because that can sometimes be a really big indication of like what people's purpose are. One of my really great friends, before he founded his company, was so angry about food waste
Mm.
in Australia, right? He had traveled a lot and saw the injustices in a lot of different countries. And so now he's gone back to Australia and founded this amazing company that's helping minimize food waste and then give some to the homeless. And so, like, what makes you angry can also be a really great indication of like what a purpose could be underneath that.
Such a great tips. I do agree 100% on that as well because it's like sometimes also it's just so obvious within ourselves, but we don't see it because for us it's like maybe so easy. Like I remember like I have a really good friend in Bali. He told me like, Lucy, you don't see your value is there. I'm like, no, this is so easy. But it was easy for me, but not for the others. And it's where, where we get sometimes mess up with finding a purpose or mission that is bigger, more, and we do truly believe it has to be hard. But
Yeah.
it actually not because once and you say it's within ourselves. So more we allow the space to unlock that and to share this, more it's gonna be actually easy. And who else wants more ease in life? Is I'm a true believer that we should be living for more ease and harmony, and this is possible for all of us. But we need to give space for that, space for those answers to come to us.
Absolutely. And that's why, like, and I love the fact that you mentioned the ease that it can come with, because it's innately within each and every soul came down here with a reason for being.
Mm.
And
Yes,
so it is just connecting to that.
yes. Have you always been like so connected to your soul or spirit, or have you been doing more practices around that?
That's a great question. Was a very, very open child. So I grew up in quite a unique environment. I lived on one of the biggest cattle stations in New South Wales in a caravan and then in Aboriginal communities. And so I grew up with a really deep connection to myself, to land, and to myself as a spiritual being.
Okay.
But as a child, because I was quite open, I would see and experience things that were scary and that I didn't understand because my mum and my dad it wasn't something they were teaching us. And one day my uncle said, "Oh, you can turn it off." Right. And so I literally turned all my spiritual gifts off. But when I got hit by the car, it's like it awoke me again. I've always had this crazy knowing. Like I've just known when things are going to happen. And I will like have dreams about people that I don't know or that don't make sense. And then they will come and happen in real life. And so as I've become more mission focused, that has meant a reconnecting with my body, with my soul, and with the intelligence that is all around us.
Yes. Yeah, you mentioned a lot since the beginning about connecting to the body and feeling the thing. Do you practice other sport than surf at the moment?
Yeah, so I actually don't surf because I'm scared of the ocean, but
Oh, I thought you were surfing.
I swim in the ocean most days. um, um, I believe that but then this is where I'm quite different to a lot of other spiritual teachers, is that I believe for a woman, the body is the pathway for us to connect with the consciousness of the universe, the consciousness of our body, because we have this incredible guidance system of our heart, our womb, our vulva, and our stomach, right? And that through that connection, you can connect to the intelligence of the earth, the elements, and the universe. And so a lot of what I do as a regular practice is meditation. I have a very big meditation practice, but also embodiment. So that is like embodying through my body and going through and listening to that intelligence and allowing that to guide me and be the way that I make decisions. And I create a lot from my business from an embodied perspective. Does that make sense?
Yes, for me, but maybe you want to develop a little bit more for the people who are listening today.
Yeah. So essentially, our body is the way that I like to describe it is that our body is this sacred chamber of intelligence. And we quite often give too much attention to the intelligence of the mind. However, the body is quite often acting before the mind. And within both your physical and energetic bodies, and this is stuff that can be proven by science, that the energetic field goes 1.8 meters from the center of you outwards. And so you are this collection of energy that's moving. And everything around you is just energy as well. And so you communicate through energy. So when you drop into the body, you're connecting to that energetic intelligence. And then you can connect to the energetic intelligence of the world and of the universe and spiritual guides and all of the rest of it.
All the layers. But yeah, it's going back to you as each single person being this own healer in a way, you know, the body is healing itself and trusting that the body can do that as well, listening more. And I think both of us have burnout, but it's the thing is we stop listening to the body, we push a little bit more, push a little bit more, push a little bit more until we face the wall. And it's where then when we start to reappropriate the body and take the time, make the space and time for the body to talk to us, things are just like flowing and oh okay, I have a contraction, what is telling me, am I doing the right thing, am I taking a decision I shouldn't be taking, and all those things. So it's we have actually a very strong guidance system,
Yeah.
all of us, that we have tendency to not follow and not listen. But
And I think that's such an important point that you're touching on, is that our body always knows what it needs and what we need beyond the conscious mind.
Mm.
The problem is in society, and particularly if you're a woman, you've been conditioned to work in a way that goes against that. So I was just saying that then there is this societal conditioning of not good enoughness. You
Mm.
know, there are so many people who struggle with feelings of shame, guilt, and complete disassociation from the body. And so then there is not that strong connection to what the body needs. You know, even I was sick and all of a sudden my body was like, you need acupuncture. And I hate needles, right? I was like, I hate needles. But I went and got acupuncture, and that was what started me feeling better because my liver needed more support. So the
Mm.
acupuncturist was able to stimulate those meridians. But had I been like, no, I'm definitely not doing that, and listened, I could still be feeling unwell now,
Yes.
you know? And there are all these moments where we might feel that tightness and it might not make sense in our mind. And often it won't. But I think what's really important to understand is because the body's working with energy, it's picking up on a lot more data than our mind is able to comprehend.
Yes, and you just express it very well, because then we when we don't listen, because it's hard, it just doesn't make any sense at a brain level, so we have a tendency of, I need to make a rational decision, and it cannot make sense, or I don't know
Mm.
why, but I cannot do it. And then you know, I saw myself as well sometimes having a hard time. I knew it, I know it, and then it's like, how am I going to explain that outside? It's like, I know I cannot do that. I don't know why, but
I don't.
and it's a thing. It's in the energy, and the body knows what is for you and not for you, and it's
Yeah.
trying to protect you for many reasons that we are not aware of. But
Yeah.
when we don't listen, I could see, for me, it's like now it's not even a choice not listening to it. I don't know for you, but
Exactly. Like there've been so many times where I've made decisions and like it hasn't made sense, but then later on down the track, something's happened and I'm like, oh my God, if I hadn't have like made that decision and listened to my body, because my mind is going, no, but like all of the things, this sounds really good, right? It would have been a very different story. And I think that that's such a shame for how we live and work as
mm,
humans, right? Because your body always knows. It's
mm,
just, are we like listening? And can you trust yourself unapologetically in that intelligence that exists within you?
yeah. And it's a journey, I would say, to everyone that listen. It it's a path that maybe we're a little bit more advanced than some people, but
Yeah.
it's still like it's a journey of trusting that inner voice, trusting the body, the sign. Then okay, step by step, oh, okay, I do it. But it actually, life become easier after. I do have this belief that even within my life, I could see like more I listen, more it's actually for me, like, and greatest gifts are coming for that.
Particularly like, there are, if you have your, for people listening who might be looking at starting their own business or moving overseas, that might not make sense to a lot of people. But you might have, and you probably will have this burning inside your heart and your soul that's like, I just need to be there,
Yeah.
right? There is a reason that you're being called to that.
Yes.
And allow yourself to follow that because you will be so surprised with what will unfold. And something that really helped me in my transition was, well, I can always go back, you know? Like, worst comes to worst, I'll book a flight back to Australia. I will go back to working over there and nothing's like it changed. But at least
You
I
have
gave
done.
it a shot. And I think that that's something that can help, like a bit of a mind shift, set shift, because like you do have to get your mind on board. You have to
Yeah.
like be like, how can you create safety in the mind so that the mind can serve you? Because we want your mind to serve you. So something that can be really beneficial is like playing out what happens if it doesn't work out. And what is your exit strategy? You know, what do you need to be safe while you're overseas?
Yes, yes. And I must, yeah, I agree, because it's especially for a woman, I think feeling secure is even more important. And I know some mentors are saying, you shouldn't have plan B, you should, burn the boat and all of that. But I do agree with you that having an exit plan and deeply knowing that worst case scenario, I can always fly back, or I can, for me was, yeah, those two things. I can fly back home, or I can go for a job, like whatever the job, like if I really need to eat and I don't have any more money, like if it's really the end of the end. I know I can always go on a job and I can be waitress and whatever the job actually I would do it to survive. So at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you remove the risk, or you go there by calculating the risk that, okay, worst case scenario, I fly back home and I keep, few $1,000 as a cushion, and then you're fine.
Yeah.
And I would always encourage people to have this scenario, because as you said, you need the mind on board. You need the
Yeah.
mind to help you, to serve you, to make it happen in the construction of the action and all of that. But it
Mhm.
has to be driven by the soul, by the heart, that yes, it's a heck yes from all your cells.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand why people say like, oh, you like give it all, but we need to create safety within the body and safety within our mind. And if the body thinks that we're going to die and our mind thinks we're going to die, we cannot be our full potent, powerful selves because we're worried about, well, what happens if I can't get X amount of clients, or what happens if I can't find somewhere to live, or da da da. So knowing what your options are helps you remind yourself in those moments where it gets tough.
Mm.
And I think that's really valuable and something that's maybe not spoken about enough.
I think so. Yeah, it has to be more, there are ways, there are layers, there are, you
Mm.
know, the safety, and I do a lot around finances, but
Yeah.
feeling secure and feeling safe is so important, and it's what will drive you, or put you in scarcity mindset or fears. And when you have this energy of fears, when you embody the fears, you are not attracting the right thing into your life. So, do you want to talk a little bit about what is your relationship with money?
Yes, I love this topic. Yes,
Thank you. I don't have so many people that say I love that
oh
topic.
no, I love this topic, right? And I will start off by saying it's something that I've had to do a lot of work with,
Mm.
right? Because I was part of the abuse that I under like suffered was financial abuse. So I had all of my money taken from me and I wasn't I had any access to that, right? And so that does create low sense of worth, or like, and then not great habits with like holding on to money and fear and scarcity and all of that, right? And so something that you have to get your mind around when you become an entrepreneur is you have to adjust your money mindset. Like it is such a huge part of what is your relationship with money, you know, is absolutely massive. And for me, I am completely okay to say that I intend to be a very, very wealthy woman. I have no, and that's quite activating for some people because they're like, oh, they're talking about money. What are you talking about? But I have no problem charging what I'm worth.
Mm.
I have no problem saying no to things if they don't align with like in terms of purpose or um what my kind of the fee is for my services, because I value myself, I value my energy, and I value the transformation that I bring.
Yes.
And also, if I don't have a certain relationship with money, I can't actually serve to the best of my ability. There's this real bullshit narrative in spirituality that like you have to suffer, you
Yes.
must give up. And I'm so bloody against that because, yes, I believe that you have to give back, right? But if you're not able to provide for yourself, if you're not able to give yourself good food, look after your health, you actually do a massive disservice to what you're doing.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
there is the abundance come from, this you need to serve your cup first.
Yeah.
And there is no shame about, having a good lifestyle. If it's
Mhm.
serving your soul, you are going to serve even more people because you will have the energy, you will have actually enough space and
Yeah.
enough money to reinvest, to have a team with you or whatever the shape you are doing it and the
Yeah.
business model you need. But it's how it's serving more. So it's really it shouldn't be involved. The money is a tool for me. It's like
Yeah.
it's not the goal. It's really a tool. You need money. We are in the material world, so we need money every
Yeah.
single day for very basic stuff and for more fancy stuff. But
Exactly.
it's like, why? Because we should be spiritual, we shouldn't receive money for what we do, and it's a big mismatch for me. It's a very scarcity mindset. I see a lot of spiritual people are in. Yeah, they have to suffer. They have to give everything before even having. But it's not written like this. It's not in the
No.
universal laws. It's not about that. Of course, you give and you will receive.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's energy, right? So.
Exactly. And I believe in the path of the goddess, and that is all abundance, right?
Mhm.
Like, I really, when I hear this, like, low self-worth, low, like, self-sacrificing stuff, I think that always comes down to a mindset of someone not really valuing their self. And then we've got the layers of how religion has been taught to, like, and let's talk about, like, society as well, to, like, restrict people's ability to earn a certain amount because that keeps people controllable.
Yes.
If people have their own resources, they are less easily controlled. And so there are certain systems that don't want us to be controlled, right? Like uncontrollable. And so I really encourage people to reevaluate their relationship with money. And like I think it's so interesting. I don't know if you ever did this, but like to go into the subconscious and look at like what you think on a subconscious level money is. I don't know if you've ever had these kind of
No,
thoughts.
but we can do it later. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting. So I'll share mine. Like when I first did this, I like had this idea that like money was evil
Mm.
and that it doesn't grow on trees and that making money was hard and all of these things. And over the years, I've actually got to reprogram it all. And like money now is just this vehicle that I get to use to create an epic life. And the more abundance I have, the better I can serve, you
Yeah.
know?
Me too. What I had actually came, it was if I have wealth, I will lose my family, I will create a family um I would say issue and stuff like that. I was like, oh my God, I reprogrammed that because I'm like, I don't want this, I do believe it should be different and it doesn't
Yeah.
have to sacrifice a relationship with family that money is in the middle. So
And I think that's such an important part because I think underneath it, that often is a thing that what does you having money mean for your relationships?
mm,
Right. And there is always an interesting dynamic depending on how people grew up that create these imprints around people that we get to unprogram.
yes, yes. And the beauty of all this work is you can actually reprogram and put a new story in your mind and all of that. So it's where for everyone listening is there is a path, there is things to do to fix it and
Yeah.
not to fix because you are broken. It's not the point, but we all have been through those things that we had in our mind that we were not conscious about, and then you unlock and you're like, oh, okay, I need to go to the next level and there's something not serving me anymore. Okay, I have like this money. And for me, for example, it was the big stuff was when I was in Bali before the pandemic, I was living a very luxurious lifestyle. I was going for massage every other day and having a cleaner at home and all of that. And then I arrived in Australia where
Yeah.
I lost it all. I had a really internal conflict with myself because I was like, Lucy, you know where you come from. Why are you so upset not having your cleaner? Or not being able to really go and for massage and all those things. And I was so upset with myself. I was like, Lucy, just remember where you come from. You don't need those things. And but a coach I had at the time told me, Lucy, you just recoded your DNA that life is good when you have a massage every other day, when you have a help at home, when you have a cleaner and all those things. So
Yeah.
when I lost it, it
Yeah.
was so a shock for me. But
Mm,
then I shifted that into, okay, this is what I want. It's like it
mm,
become like part of my minimum standard. And it's not to show up on, of course, I know how to do the cleaning, but I just know my life is way better
when you don't have
when I
to.
am a cleaner.
Yeah.
And thanks God I'm back in Bali. But yeah, I told myself that day, and I was still in Australia,
Mm,
wherever I live in the world, I should be able to afford those things. So no
yeah.
matter how much does it cost, I should be able to receive what I want, in terms of service, in terms of treatment for my body and my mental health, I would say. So all those things that, you know, we need to have conscious awareness time to time with ourselves to check into why I'm so upset over that, and then realize that this is the life I want. And
Yeah.
more I embody that part of me, like life actually delivered it to me in Melbourne. I moved to an apartment and then the cleaner was included. I was like, oh my God, this is this was just delivery from the universe. But it was like, just being okay with who we are, truly,
Yes.
fully.
Yep.
Then after things come to us.
Absolutely. And I love that point because I think that you touch on such an important topic there is that it is okay to ask and have a certain lifestyle in which you look after yourself, right? Like, yes, we live in Bali and we have people that come and clean our houses, but that means that we can spend more time doing other things,
Gross.
right? And like having a massage, facial, all or like I'm big on organic food, but I get my food or like delivered to me because it's not a good use of my time to go to like 4 different places to buy everything that I need. And it's actually okay that that is the life that we get to live
Exactly.
because I'm employing someone who is delivering me my food, right? So scarcity and lack would say, oh, that's like selfish, or she's, yeah, selfish is the word I'm going to use. But actually, when you look at the bigger picture, you're like, well, actually, I'm buying it. There's a driver who's employed to deliver it to me. You're actually helping sustain an ecosystem.
I do 100% believe that because it's part. They are happy. Like people were looking at me. You don't need a cleaner. Of course, I don't need a cleaner in a way, but then I'm feeling a family. It's like and all those things that why not? I should do that if yeah, my time is precious as well, and then I have more time to either rest, to take care of myself, to work on the project, to be at service in other things. So it's like, yeah. It's part of the right decision, I think, wherever you live in,
Mm.
because for me, it's definitely a decision I've taken 3, 4 years ago that
Yeah,
wherever I will live in the world, I would get those services because it's important to me. It's
yeah,
putting myself more in space to serve and deliver more to the world.
yeah,
And and yeah, it's part of being so okay with who we are.
yes. And
That's
what we
gonna
need.
help. Yeah.
Yeah, and what we need. And I'm the same as you. Like in Melbourne, I was still getting facials, massages, like still like getting food delivered to me, like because that's what I need to thrive. And I will not apologize for prioritizing my needs. And I don't think that anybody should ever have to apologize for prioritizing their needs.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, but I can quickly see, and maybe less in the Australian mindset, which maybe I don't know, but in a French way where people will point out,
Mm.
like, oh yeah, you live in Bali, you have your cleaner, those things that people point out. Like, yeah, of course, yes. Like, and yeah, and tomorrow I want to travel in business because I will sleep better and I will save my time.
Exactly, right? And it's like, and I always think like whenever someone's pointing out things like that, there's probably a desire that they're not acknowledging in themselves. And like, if people are worried about what I'm doing, well, then they should focus more on maybe worrying about what they're doing, right? Because I definitely don't have time to worry about whether Lucy's catching a flight class, business class flight, you know? But it goes back to what you value. Like, yeah, I value my sleep. So
Yeah.
of course I'm going to fly business class.
Of course, yeah, yeah. For me, it's those things has been so clear. Like the last few years, it's like my health and my body. I
Yeah.
need the sleep. I need the environment. I need the calm. I need just to hear the birds in the morning and and not the traffic and all of that. So
Yeah.
I am putting way more investment into those things than some most of the people maybe because then I know it's important, the food and all those things. So it's part of what you say. What do you value? What is important for you? And then you are clarifying this and life,
Yeah.
you put the money where it needs to be put and that's it, It's
Exactly. And something I think is a really good example of this is some people will like not blink at going out and spending like $150 on a night out and a meal. And like, that's great. If you want to do that, I do that sometimes too, right? Like, I'm not dissing that. But then if you see someone who's spending $150 on a massage or a facial, like, because that is good for their health and well-being, well, then we can't judge them. It's just a different priority. Some people might really value that food and that experience, and some people might really value the facial and the relaxation or the business class flight, and we get to decide what's important for us.
Exactly. And one thing you mentioned, actually, when people start kind of looking at that, either they have nothing else to do in their life, or they are kind of, maybe I should do the same for myself, and they start to maybe telling themselves that, oh, if she's doing it, maybe
Mm.
it's possibility I could do that for me as well. So I do believe we also inspire others by just being us and
Yes.
not, not listening too much what people can think about that.
Oh, exactly. And I love that you brought that up because I really do believe that us living the most abundant, inspired, in touch version of ourselves where we feel full gives other people permission to do that because they go, oh, well, she's doing it, so can I. And so it becomes this evidence, which is what I really love about it. Don't worry about the people. Haters gonna hate. Ignore them, right?
Focus on what is important and the good part of it for sure. It's gonna be always people who will disagree. It's one thing I love, especially nowadays with social media. Like people are so easy to showcase the bad thing or judging and all of that, but never focus too much on that because it's gonna just drain your energy and it's not where it should go.
Exactly. And I think like people are always going to have their judgments, but don't let that hold you back from what is true for you and for what feels good for you because people are going to judge you regardless. They're going to judge you if you do it, they're going to judge you if you don't do it. Like, you might as well do what makes you happy and say, fuck all you people that have a problem with that, you know?
Exactly. So we heard a lot of advice today about how to create your own life, your own business, transitioning. To those who love to create really a life that they love, would you have another maybe last advice for them today?
Yeah, I would just say to you, like, if you have that calling in your heart, and you know that there is something bigger out there for you, whether that be traveling to this amazing destination, relocating overseas, starting the business, asking the person out, like whatever it is, just do it because like you're going to regret the things that you don't do more than you will regret the things that you try. And even if it doesn't work out the way you planned, actually it won't, it'll probably be better. At least you gave it a shot, you know?
Yes, just do it.
Just
It's one
do
of
it.
my mantra, I think, all the time is don't overthink it. Don't put the brain too much into it. Just, as you mentioned, if your body is telling you,
Mm,
should try it, the heck yes, from inside. Like
yeah,
just try it, It's like at the end of the day, there's not so much risk. And but living with the regret, it's gonna
that's
be heavier.
yeah, so heavy. And I just think like our heart always knows what we truly want.
Mm.
So how can you allow your heart to be the thing that guides your life? Because I guarantee you, if your heart is guiding you, you're never going to feel like you shouldn't have done something.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. And as we close up this conversation, I love to do a rapid five. So it's five questions and you answer like a short answer, basically. Are you
Okay,
ready
cool.
for it?
I'm ready. Let's go. Hit me. Hit me with your rapid five.
One thing you would love for your life.
Love.
Mm.
Yes. Opening myself up to love is definitely a priority right now.
Yes. One thing you would love for the world.
To know how much unlimited potential there is and how capable people truly are, and that we are all connected to each other and to the earth. And if we are hurting the earth, we're hurting ourselves.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes, thank you. The worst advice you have received.
Oh my God, this is so easy. Just act like a man.
Oh!
It was the worst advice I ever received when I was starting a new job as a designer. I was made redundant. It was terrible, terrible advice. If you're a woman, do not act like a man.
Uh, and the best advice you have received?
Mm, the best advice I've received. Oh, I've received a lot of good advice. That's a hard one. That I can achieve anything that I set my mind to.
Mm,
Like someone said to me, I want you to understand that you can really achieve anything that you set out. And I was just like, oh, yeah. And then I could like had all this evidence from when I'd done that in life. And I was like, yeah, I can.
I love it.
Yeah.
The last one. If you had a magic wand,
Yep.
what would you transform?
Oh, I had a magic wand. What would I transform? I would really help people let go of what it is that's holding them back from their potential. Because I think that kills more dreams than failure ever will. Like the fear of failure, the fear of what can go wrong is going to stop you from living the life that you really want to live and serving from that place. So I would release everyone's limitations, mine included.
I'm on board. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's unlimit everybody. Magic wand, please.
Done. Thank you. Do you want to add something you would love to share?
I would just love to say thank you so much for having me and for like facilitating this conversation. I think it's so important for people to open their minds and their hearts to what's possible.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ghislain. And you were on the In Between Home podcast, and can't wait to see you again for the next episode. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.